Breaking news in the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery, a third man now under arrest and charged with felony murder. William Roddie Bryan, the man who recorded the video. In Boston, Massachusetts, federal prosecutors have struck a deal with actress Lori Loughlin in the college admissions scandal, and now Aunt Becky will go to prison.
She could be a target, look to get exploited by some of these prisoners who may be jealous of her success, her fame, her wealth.
And in Gilbert, Arizona, we take a closer look at the newly uncovered video of doomsday cult mom Lori Daybell's former husband Charles talking about Lori.
She's lost her mind. I don't know how to say it.
Plus, the 13th juror speaks. Tonight, we take a look at your reaction on social media. And we begin with big breaking news tonight in the case involving the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery down in Georgia. As you know, 2 men were arrested and charged with his murder, but there was someone who had shot that video, someone who was recording everything as it happened. And everyone was wondering, well, what was that? All right, okay. I was getting some breaking news in my ear. It's happening all day long here on Court TV. So let me get you back up to speed now, okay? So you've got someone that's in the truck behind recording the video as Ahmaud Arbery is running. And then all of a sudden, people are wondering, well, what about the guy shooting the video? You know, does he have any criminal responsibility here? And tonight we're finding out that, yes, he does. He has been charged. Chanley Painter has the latest for us tonight.
Vinny, exactly 2 weeks after the arrest of Travis and Gregory McMichael, a third person is arrested for the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, 50-year-old William Roddie Bryan. He's currently being held at the Glynn County Jail, and while the GBI is not giving a lot of details on his arrest, we know that he's being charged with felony murder and criminal attempt to commit false imprisonment. Now, William Roddie Bryan is the man responsible for the viral video. In the video, you see him holding his cell phone while he's driving, following along with Ahmaud Arbery down the road towards the McMichaels. And even in the police report, Gregory McMichael refers to Roddie, saying, quote, Roddie attempted to block Arbery in and was unsuccessful. Now, the family of Ahmaud Arbery released a statement today saying they were, quote, relieved at the announcement of this arrest. All along, they've been calling for Roddie's arrest from the very beginning, saying he was an armed accomplice to the murder of their loved one. And in the statement, they go on to say, quote, his involvement in the murder was obvious to us and around the country. And after their thorough investigation, it was clear to the GBI as well. Now, we also know that Bryan and his attorney, Kevin Goff, have spoken out recently to the media saying that he was innocent, had nothing to do with the McMichaels or what happened that day. He was simply a witness, even recently this week, taking a private lie detector test to prove his innocence. And of course, Kevin Goff hasn't yet responded to our request for comment on the arrest of his client this evening. But Vinny, we do know the GBI will have a press conference for more details tomorrow. Back to you.
All right, Chanley Painter giving us the latest. And felony murder, think about it, felony murder. That's the top charge here. That's life in prison. That's the same charge that the 2 guys with the guns and the pickup were charged with, okay? So this is as serious as it gets. And from my perspective, I was surprised on the one hand, but not surprised on the other. Because there's obviously evidence that we haven't seen, which is, all right, we're hearing there's a couple other videos out there. What do those videos show about the moments beforehand, right? Before that video starts rolling that we've seen already that was leaked, what do the videos show of what was taking place beforehand? What was Roddie Bryan doing? And I guess based on whatever that evidence is, the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, believes there's enough to charge him with felony murder tonight. Okay, let's break this all down. Bring in our think tank tonight. Big breaking news tonight. Joining us tonight, Marsha Mignon. She is a great criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor in the ATL, which is in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. Also with us, Gabriel Sepulveda Sanchez, trial attorney in Los Angeles, and Vic Bajaj, criminal defense attorney in San Diego. So we're locked and loaded tonight. You all have a lot of experience, understand this. Marshall, let me begin with you. You're in Georgia. Felony murder. Explain to the folks at home who haven't been down to Georgia how prosecutors use felony murder, what it means to a criminal defendant who's been charged with it.
Well, felony murder means that you have been charged with a murder charge. That means you have an underlying felony that you are in the commission of. So the underlying felony in this case is going to be the attempt to commit the false imprisonment that he has been charged with. Felony murder means you are just as culpable because you are participating in the commission of a felony at the time someone died.
So this is serious as it gets. Gabriel, attempted false imprisonment. What do you think that means? And what do they have to show to demonstrate that he attempted to falsely imprison Ahmaud Arbery here?
So attempted false imprisonment means that it's an unlawful restraint against someone's movement. So basically, they have to prove that he unlawfully restrained or confined Ahmaud Arbery to that area there. So, in my understanding of that is it's not a high burden to prove that someone actually committed false imprisonment. As long as they didn't have any justification to confine them to that area, that's pretty much all they need to prove that charge. As far as unlawful false imprisonment, that could be as simple as not hit for just to confine them to the area with the car, something of that sort. That we don't know exactly what the facts are as far as. We don't know how much involved he was in blocking him in there. Maybe there are some text messages between him and the shooter stating that, hey, you guys go ahead and go to the right side. I'll stay behind him and I'll cut him off. We don't really know what the evidence is on the cell phones, text messages, emails. I don't know how much plotting, how much active participation he had in confining him. So they have to have some sort of evidence.
Gabriel, I'll tell you what his lawyer's saying. His lawyer's saying there was no communication. There was no communication between the McMichaels and Roddie Bryan, who's shooting the video. So, Vic, it's not even false imprisonment, though. It's attempted false imprisonment. So can it be enough that someone's running down the road and you try to cut him off and block him in? Is that an attempted false imprisonment?
I believe what happened is that law enforcement in here had to take the evidence they received, which would be the statements that this individual made to law enforcement without a lawyer present, and come to a conclusion as to whether there was any indicia of a crime. This is under the umbrella of an enormous amount of public pressure to find charges and file these charges against this individual. Attempted false imprisonment, in my mind, that's a thin charge in and of itself. You're right, your previous guest said correctly that it's just trying to prevent the asportation, trying to prevent someone from moving from one side to the other side. I want to go. In domestic violence cases, we see it quite often. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to my girlfriend or boyfriend. No, you're not. And you stop them from leaving. That's enough for false imprisonment. The thing that's shaky for me as a defense attorney, and of course any prosecutors or former prosecutors can chime in on this, is how do you determine intent? So the statements that this individual made have to be part and parcel to the creation of the mental state of mind. I was going to block him in, or something of that nature. But a very shaky charge to begin with, quite frankly.
Well, they may have videotapes. Let's take a look at a map. Ted Rowlands last night on the program did an incredibly detailed piece about where they were going. And as you watch this map, you can see that there's two vehicles involved. And the question is, did Roddie Bryan impede the progress of Ahmaud Arbery as he's being followed by the two men who've been arrested in the pickup truck? Now, when we pick up the video, obviously he's behind him. So at this point, he's not blocking him. It looks like the McMichaels are blocking him. But did he initially block them? Marcia, do you think that's enough in Georgia that if a man is running, there's a pickup truck behind him, he's running away from it, and then you block the road, and then the man running turns around and starts going the other way or runs around your car? Will that be enough for an attempted false imprisonment? Because that's the road to felony murder in this case.
We all know that it could be enough for a jury, because keep in mind, as co-counsel just said a few moments ago, that if an individual in a similar situation was to say, I'm leaving my home, your spouse says, we're having an argument, I'm leaving my home, and she tries to get in her car and you block the driveway, you can be charged with, attempting to commit false imprisonment. So I don't believe it's a weak charge. As a former prosecutor, I'm telling you, I've seen jurors convict for that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that you physically touch the person, but you're also preventing the person from being able to leave the area for some reason.
So I got to think they've got video of him doing that, because I don't think he admitted doing that, and the other defendant said he did it. What's that?
There's got to be some of those home video cameras that was there monitoring homes, or doorbell cameras. And what individuals are forgetting is that law enforcement investigating this may also have cell phone records, either text messages between the parties or phone calls to that individual. In fact, when Mr. Bryan's attorney spoke on television previously, he spoke about him being at home minding his own business, and then all of a sudden he's at the scene videotaping and chasing a suspect.
Yeah, and again, I'll say it because he said it to us that there was no communication between the McMichaels and Roddie Bryan, but we'll see what the evidence shows us. Lee Merritt represents the family of Ahmaud Arbery, and he spoke to us before this arrest came down late tonight. Let's take a listen.
William Bryan, also known as Roddie, we know obviously he was there because he admits that he took the video. We know that he was in his truck and that he was traveling around following Ahmaud, again, from his attorney's statements. Now, there was some ambiguity early on from my office and from other investigators as to how he became involved in the case, but his attorney began at least to offer his explanation, which was he was sitting at home, and all his attorney tells us is within minutes he was behind Ahmaud Arbery recording him. So we know that he left his home, we know that he got in his truck, and we know that he joined this pursuit. Now, his co-conspirator, Gregory McMichael, has said that he actively participated in trying to box Ahmaud Arbery in, that he was unsuccessful at first, and then we saw at in the video itself that eventually he was successful, blocking his point of exit when forcing Ahmaud Arbery to come into the confrontation with the McMichaels. Those facts actually aren't in dispute. The only thing really that seems to be in dispute is what that means or whether or not that was criminal. And from my perspective and from our experts, that's clearly playing a key role in this event, and Mr. Bryant will likely have to face criminal charges and prosecution as well. I think that's going to be up to the district attorney and the grand jury. I can say that when someone is murdered and other people participated in, although they may not be the trigger man, a common charge that we see is felony murder, that you participated in this event that caused the death of another human being, and so you will be charged with their murder as well.
And he was. Roddie Bryan now charged with felony murder. Gabriel, let me ask you, do you think our system of justice should treat the two guys in the pickup with the guns the same as the guy in the other vehicle with the cell phone?
Yes, he was an active participant. Based on, people have to remember that intent can be shown through circumstantial evidence. There's a reason they brought these charges against the person taking the video, and one of those things they're going to ask too is why was he filming this thing? Did he even call 911 prior to filming this? Or was he just, he saw a person getting shot. Why didn't he call 911? All these things that people forgetting that there's circumstantial evidence that can show intent. And I think that's why the prosecutors feel confident in bringing this case, is because it's not just the fact that he was following around the two perpetrators that shot Ahmaud Arbery. It's the fact that, why didn't he call 911? Why was he filming this thing? Why didn't he do anything to intervene? All these things in conjunction with the following of Ahmaud and the videotaping, maybe not not calling 911. There's a reason these charges are brought in. If they can show that he was aided and abetted into this situation, was an active participant, and wasn't just a witness to the shooting. If they can show that he wasn't just a witness, they have a case, and this guy should go down just like everyone else. That's my opinion.
Vic, he voluntarily gave police the video and told police about the video. I don't think anyone in the world other than Roddie Bryan at the time of the shooting knew there was a video of everything that happened. Does he get any credit for that? Because right now it doesn't look like prosecutors are impressed at all with him voluntarily showing police officers at the scene the video of the shooting.
Well, the credit he gets is being charged with felony murder. I mean, this is a textbook scenario on why you don't make statements when prosecutors and law enforcement officers are looking for evidence and trying to solve a murder case as to whether something was self-defense or not. There's no mystery in this case that he knew these individuals. He lived in the same area. He even made statements that were leaked saying that he recognized the truck but did not recognize the individual jogging. I mean, these are damning statements. These are statements that lead one to believe that the indicia of his knowledge is much greater than his defense attorney ended up saying afterwards. And I have to give a little bit of pushback in regards to our other guest tonight, in regards to the attempted false imprisonment being a non-shaky or a strong charge. I disagree. If you're going to charge somebody with attempted false imprisonment, charge them with attempted false imprisonment. The nexus here is that it wasn't only attempted false imprisonment, but it was also attempted false imprisonment, which led to the death. And so that's why it's a shaky case. I don't think he's going to get any credit at all for producing this video, which is extraordinarily damaging to his case and the co-defendants. And I think if it does anything, it will not provide corroboration for the innocence-seeking statements that he probably tried to give to law enforcement. It's very important to understand this case as an example. We do not encourage people to head on in to make statements in an open investigation without open dialogue with prosecutorial agents in the case. It can prove to be disastrous, as we can see here. So to answer your question, Vinny, which is a great one, I can't see him getting any credit for coming forward with that video.
Who knows why he gave that video?
Not only spoke. Go ahead.
No, who knows why he gave that video? People do stupid things. He might have given that video to law enforcement to try to, get himself out of the situation. Oh, here's this video I saw. We don't really that's given too much weight, I think, right now. And who knows what his intent was? But people do dumb things like that, and he could have given that evidence over to law enforcement to, remove himself of the situation when he really was involved. That's right.
That's a good point. But importantly, he wasn't the one who produced the video. It wasn't sort of a situation where he gave it to law enforcement. As I understand the factual scenario here, a lawyer provided this video. A lawyer leaked the video to the press, and it was only a couple of 3 days after. The lawyer leaked the video, but his story, Vic, his story is that at the scene, he showed the video to officers. It was subsequently made public through the lawyer, but Roddie Bryan and his attorney saying, no, at the scene, I invited the police into my car and showed them the video on my cell phone at the scene that day. Roddie Bryan also spoke out not just to police, but he also spoke to Chris Cuomo on CNN. Take a listen.
I would just like to say, first of all, I am very sorry to the family. I pray for him every night, as well as my own family.
Marcia, your thoughts about Roddie's prayers for the family?
It's a sad situation, because a lot of times I've seen defendants, and I do defense work, and I've seen defendants believe that I am gathering evidence and what they believe to be evidence to prove their innocence or to exonerate them is actually evidence that digs them deeper into the offense that they're being charged of. I don't believe when Roddie was making this video that he thought he was preparing evidence to show that he was assisting with the commission of a felony. I think he actually thought, I'm showing this young man who we suspect of committing a crime, and I'm helping with completing a citizen's arrest. Unfortunately, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So that's where he's found himself in a situation where I'm recording this because I think I'm protecting myself, and I'm going to show it to law enforcement, and it's going to prove exactly what I want it to prove, that we got the bad guy and we took him out, and they're going to be happy and they're going to thank me for it.
There's a lot of entitlement.
And by the way, if he's attempting an unlawful arrest, he's guilty We've got to get to our next story. Next story, Lori Loughlin, when we come back, also known as Aunt Becky from Full House. You know she's all caught up in the college admissions scandal, and her attorneys were fighting it tooth and nail, trying to get it dismissed. Well, guess what? A deal has been struck. The details next.